everybody. Sorry I'm a smidge late this morning. It is Monday, June 5th. Hopefully y'all are having a good day so far. Markets are off to a slightly green start. SPY's up by 0.15. QQQ up by 0.15. And the Dow Jones is actually in the red today by about 0.1%. So looks like we're getting off to a bullish start. First candle looking green, very green at 70 on the RSI. Let's see. I do have a 355 put that I'm probably going to cut half of at the moment just because it does seem like we're getting off to a bullish start. We did have a little bit of a bearish pre-market, but we're above 50 RSI for the hourly chart and the 5-minute chart. So looking like a good start to the day for the bulls at the moment. And try to take a bullish position, maybe to hedge. Let's see, we are trading at 70 on the RSI, so it is a little bit overbought. Might be a bit premature. We could wait on a pullback here. It is the first 5 minutes, so obviously it'll be always more volatile than usual. Let's see. I've also got an AMD put that should be doing okay today. All right, here we go. QQQ. We're up 0.15% for QQQ right now. Let's check yesterday's highs and the levels to watch. 355.83 was yesterday, or Friday's high, I should say. You had some resistance right around where we're trading right now, about 355, a little bit more. So I'm going to trim the put position. 1.1. They're going for 100 now, quickly deteriorating. I'll put the order in for 1.1 to sell the 355 puts expiring today. And hopefully we get a bit of a pullback here. But yeah, definitely a bullish start. 70 plus on RSI, 76 actually. And we're seeing the Dow pulling back a bit, but still kind of trading at Friday's highs. On Friday, the Dow Jones was just non-stop to the upside. So I would expect a little bit of a pullback for DIA to some extent, which could lead into QQQ pulling back too. We'll have to see. But just closed 5 of the 10 puts for QQQ. Just sold 5. Oh, I can't spell. 5 of 10 QQQ 355 puts expiring today, June 5th, 6/5 at 110. And it looks like we're going to 356 almost now, right after I close those. So definitely a bullish start. Looks like Tesla is the leader today, up 2.2%, pulling back from its high above 220, 221.29. Huge rally that we've been seeing in Tesla. The last couple of days, it's been 200 to 220, a 10% gain in 2 days. Apple up by 1.4% at 184 almost. Microsoft nonstop to the upside, it seems like, even up 0.4% today. I don't think I've seen a red day for Microsoft in quite some time. The stock just doesn't want to stop going up. Sold Tesla at 188 and look what happened now. Yeah, 220. Tesla is crazy. It's a very wild stock to say the least. Because it's always got some kind of news on it to make it go to one direction or the other. Let's see if there's any news as to why they're up. Citigroup adjusted their price target 215 from 175. Soared up 25% over a month. Not really news. Made in China sales surge 142% in May. I'm guessing that's a year-over-year number. That's what they're quoting. All right. Let's see if we can spot any good opportunities. Looks like Nvidia is still down a little bit today. One of the three in the red. Nvidia, Meta, and Amazon was barely in the green. These three are basically at break even, and then the top three are Tesla, Apple, and Google, only up by 0.25%. So not seeing a ton of green names, but you do have Apple with the $2 trillion market cap going up 1.4%, so that's going to have some weight to it. And then Tesla up 2.4% too, especially with the rally that it's already seen. It's been pretty wild. The VIX right now is at 15.15, so this is actually up from Friday's close, which was the lowest close that we've seen, I think it's been 2 years since we've seen the VIX below 15. So very low volatility as of lately. It's just been kind of up and away non-stop, it seems like. SPY's at 429, almost 430. Not sure if we'll hit 430 today. That might be where we end up getting rejected. But yeah, we're definitely bullish. 70 on the RSI here. The Dow is kind of just flat today, which is reasonable after the huge rally on Friday. And Q's kind of making up for lagging behind on Friday. That's what it seems like right now. Let's check in on AMD. It ended up bouncing as soon as it hit that 116 price level that I've been looking for the past couple of weeks. That is your new support level. It does seem to keep wanting to head down, but I only have like a week until my expiration for that. So probably going to close that today or tomorrow, given how we end up trading for the NASDAQ. That'll probably dictate where the Qs ends up headed today. All right, the Qs is at 355.80 almost, new high right there, 356, and the momentum continues. crazy market. It just wants to pour all of its money into big tech as of lately. Most of that today going into Apple and then Tesla. Google is up 0.7%. So this one's actually starting to move a little bit. First three candles, very big to the upside. Almost 80 RSI. So lots of momentum going into Google. And these three names are just carrying the cues at the moment. And then Microsoft up 0.4% with the relentless rally. Kind of thinking SPY will stay below 430, but you are going against momentum with that trade. So that's not a trade I would take with a lot of confidence. Especially if Qs is acting as the magnet for it. That'll have a lot more weight. Just waiting on any sort of pullback to get rid of the rest of my 355 puts. Every candle so far has been green here. So we'll see if we get any pullback off of the next few candles or not. And if it's any significance. Hope everyone stays safe and green. Yeah, the markets just want to keep pushing up. It was the Dow on Friday that was acting as the magnet for SPY. Qs did okay on Friday. It just didn't perform as well as the Dow did. The Dow was up like 2.5% almost, whereas the Qs I think was only up like 0.8% from the day before. So it's a lot of money that was rotating into industrial staples, the Dow Jones, out of tech. And now kind of seems to be the reverse of that. So people are just flip-flopping between the Dow and big tech names, it seems. And the greatest beneficiary, I feel like, is Microsoft, because kind of is both ways. It's in the Dow plus the Q, so money just gets poured into it no matter what. All right, getting a small pullback in the Qs now. Still above 70 for RSI. That's the hourly chart. For the daily chart, still well above 70. At 77 right now. Friday's highs for the Qs was first thing in the morning at 355.83, so that might act as some support for today. Anybody short under those levels would be in the red today, obviously. So that'll be your first level to look out for. Let's see. Our close on Friday was at 354.64. That would be about $1.50 down from where we're trading right now, which could happen if there is a reversal. But there's a very, very strong signal to the upside with relative strength being as hot as it is right now. The Russell is kind of pulling back here too. So the Russell finally broke out of the range that it's been in for the past like 2-3 months. Finally above 179. And after it crossed that, it was just up and away all the way to 182 at close on Friday. And now it's finally pulling back a little bit here. Be interesting to see if it does end up going back in the range and continuing to trade around there. That would be very frustrating for the bulls for sure. All right, looks like we tested that 355.83 high from Friday. Went up a little bit and retesting again. All right, there's the follow through, hopefully. We do have some data coming out this morning that I haven't checked out just yet. Let's see, economic calendar. There should have been something at 9:45. I believe the PMI, non-manufacturing PMI, if I remember right. So that could end up changing sentiment here. Let's see. Global composite PMI came in barely worse than expected. 54.3 versus 54.5 expected, up from 53.4. Services PMI came in slightly worse than expected, 54.9, 55.1 expected. And this is up from 53.6, so more services inflation likely to come. Global composite PMI, not really showing too much. And then we're going to have factory orders coming out in 8 minutes at 10 a.m., as well as non-manufacturing PMI, similar to services PMI, but it's expected to come in at 51.8. It was 51.9 last month, so we'll see. It's a pretty significant pullback there. How's it going, Carrie? Good morning. Good morning to you. Hopefully you're having a good day. That looks like a decent reversal right there. If we end up going below 355, that actually might be a reversal. I would want to see the reversal of half of that first 5-minute candle in order to really call it a reversal, which was 354.43 to 355.36, so about $1. So really you want to see this below about 354.85-ish if you want a clean reversal here. Still about 15 cents to go. But yeah, a lot of big candles this morning for Qs. That one was $1. This one is shaping up to be, let's see, 356 basically to currently 355. So that's $1 down. So we got some big candles, a lot of volatility going on. I would expect the VIX to go up if we continue to see this kind of action this morning. Especially with the VIX at 15, that just seems dirt cheap. Ridiculously cheap. Something to keep in mind, though, is that volatility works in both directions. So just like you see that $1 move down, you could also see a $1 move up. Yeah, looks like we got almost to the halfway point there. A lot of volume coming into this candle too. More than the last at least, but not quite as much as the first 10 minutes of the market. We're down to 53 on the RSI. So if we do want to stay bullish, this would be a point to kind of bounce at. We have a couple price targets lower. The break even for today is 354.64. I have 354.36. I think it was just the middle of this candle where we ended up bouncing to here. Let's see. I think I'm going to wait till after the 10 a.m. report, see if that carries us to the downside. Am I looking at the 5-minute chart? Yes, I am. Do you know if you can see volumes on TradingView? I believe so. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. TradingView. I don't have an account with them, but let's see. SPY. Yeah, so this is the volume at the bottom, and it's telling you whether the volume is buying or selling out of. If it's green, then it's buying, and then if it's red, it's selling. Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Yeah, so it looks like we're getting a little bit of support here at about 354.85, just based on that first 5-minute candle and how large it was. Usually whenever you have these big significant candles, the middle of it between the open and the close will act as a support or resistance. So keep eyeing this 354.85 level. And then towards the upside, this would be another significant candle from 355.92 to 354.91. So the middle of that candle would be about 355.40. Would be a new resistance that you would create from that. The Dow is actually pulling back 0.15%, so giving up some of Friday's gains. That was a lot of volume that went into this candle. Wow. Way more than the first 5 minutes. And SPY's pulling back with that too. So the Dow is having some negative impact on SPY at the moment. Currently at 428.15. Just barely above break even by 26 cents. Good morning, William. All right, got about 1 minute till the new data comes out with the ISM manufacturing, non-manufacturing PMI. Non-manufacturing prices doesn't have a lot of weight to it, but somewhat important just given inflation. Let me see. Last I checked, the odds for 25 basis point rate hike at the next meeting was like 25%. Still basically the same at 23%. So that comes after a couple Fed members, both Fed Jefferson and another Fed member, Fed Harker, pitched the idea of raising rates at the June meeting on June 16th. So that's kind of been part of a tailwind that we've had in the market for the last couple of days. So we'll see if that ends up continuing. It looks like odds of 25 basis points is still very low. So, all right, just kind of bouncing around between our levels at 354.64, break even for Qs, and 355.40, the resistance from that big red candle. RSI is at 57, so it is still slightly bullish. And checking into the new data, ISM non-manufacturing PMI came in worse than expected, 50.3 versus 51.8 expected, down from 51.9 as of last month. So pretty bad reading. New orders was down pretty significantly, 52.9 versus 56.5, 56.1 as of last month. And then prices paid was 56.2 versus 57, so slightly better on the inflation front, and 59.6 as of last month. Looks like we're headed higher after the report on the immediate reaction. Let's see if there's any other data that we're missing. CB employment trends, 116.15 versus 116.50 or 116.31. Not really much difference there. And then factory orders came in worse than expected, 0.4% versus 1.1% expected, down from 0.6%. So less factory orders, less goods being produced, which would lead to more inflation. So you have more inflation from here, you have less inflation from prices paid. So kind of a back and forth game, what we're seeing in the data so far. which kind of what the markets are doing here too. Trying to go higher, but not too successful with it just yet. The Dow is back to break even. So SPY is probably going to improve here a little bit more than what you're seeing in Qs. Almost back to 70 for the RSI on Qs right now at 63. So still strong sentiment going on. Back to Friday's highs and rejected again. These candles are just shaping up to be really, really big. Lots and lots of volatility. And the VIX index is actually going up a little bit here too. 15.19, just bounced off of 15. SPY's pulling back with Dow, but Qs is still headed higher, or trying to at least. Keeps on getting rejected at 355.83. I think if the Dow ends up sinking on this, you would expect Qs to pull back, but maybe you're seeing the rotation back into tech again. Tesla's still at 220. Google's up by 1.5%. So that one's, that first 3 minutes was big, and it just keeps on getting better for Google. Nvidia is in the red right now, 1%. So that's the laggard today. Gold is pumping after the report. Interesting. Gold was at 180 in the pre-market. Jeez, GLD at least, not the price of gold itself. That would be way more. But that's pretty significant to see GLD at 180. It was in the low 180s. And I feel like that's a good buying opportunity if you're long term, like 2-3 years. Short term could go either way, just because the dollar has been so very volatile. The Dixie down by 0.05 this morning, dropping right after the report from 104.30. So yeah, that's going to lead dollar, oil, commodities all to go up. The oil is currently at 72.50 a barrel. Oil is actually pulling back. Peaked at 75 first thing this morning, and then it went to 73. So it was up a decent bit, but now interesting that it's pulling back after that report and the dollar going down. You would expect oil to flip the other way. Yeah, we're just kind of stalling at this morning's highs for Qs. So maybe we just have a flat day under the morning highs at 356.50. Not sure where we would head to the downside. Maybe back to the lows from earlier, from 15 minutes ago, down to 354.60. I don't know if I would expect us to really pull back much more than that unless you see just a bloody red day for SPY and Dow. Maybe that ends up in Apple, Microsoft pulling back. Those are the two names that you really have to drag in order to get Qs to come down. Just because they're $2 trillion companies. It takes a lot to bring them down. Looks like Fulgent, one of the small caps that I'm in, is actually pulling back today, sending my puts up a little bit, 40%. Oh, wow. Yeah, they started at 41.70, now they're down to 39.30. Bought 2 put options with the 200 shares that I own just to protect on any downside because I saw IWM doing so hot. Expected a pullback, and now IWM's back to 179 again. That's going to get right back in the range. After it went to 182 on Friday. That's crazy. IWM always has some really big moves on it lately. All the money seems to be in Google and Apple and Tesla this morning. Up 1.5%, 1.8%, and 3% almost. So you probably need to see a pullback in those few names in order to bring Qs down, but Tesla's just kind of chilling at 220. Google's relentless to the upside. Almost every candle green besides one this morning. And Apple's stalling at its highs. Looks like the Dow Jones just slipped 0.3% at 337.13. Decent momentum going into the Dow to the downside, and same thing for IWM right now too. So if you want to take any bearish trades, those would be the two names for today so far. You could go into Qs. You would take on more risk since you're going against momentum, and Google, Tesla, Apple, the $1 trillion names are all up. Well, I guess Tesla's not a $1 trillion name, but Google and Apple up 1.5% is going to carry that. Good morning, Dave. Is VIX calls worth it right now? I think that the VIX is a pretty good opportunity for the moment. Just given how low it's trading, given how volatile this morning has been so far. If we see this kind of volatility continuing, I would expect the VIX to probably see, I don't know, 15. I would expect at least like 1530, 1550. Going back to, a couple days ago when it was trading at in the lows at 1550 would be reasonable to expect, just given how volatile this morning has been. If that volatility continues, at least. It could die off just because there's less trading volume later on in the day, but seeing a decent pullback in Dow, IWM, SPY is going back to break even, and Qs is pulling back just a tad. You really need Qs to fall if you really want to spark some volatility, though. Oh, SOX is up today. SOXS, triple leverage ETF against semis. Yeah, so far this morning, though, for QQQ, it's just been a lot of back and forth. It's still slightly bullish at 57 for the RSI, so there's a decent amount of strength in it. But we'll see if that ends up continuing. It would have to go below 50 RSI if you want to start to be bearish for Qs. Everything else is pretty bearish, though. SPY, IWM, and DIA, all very bearish this morning. And then even the semis are pretty bearish right now, with SOX currently down by 1.6%. AMD is kind of hesitant to go down, it seems like, though. Surprised that the market hasn't responded well to the debt deal. Slow starter, bigger fish to fry this week. And there's really not that much data coming out this week, so I don't think that there's any bigger fish to fry. But I think that, the odds of the debt ceiling getting passed was extremely high. It was like 99.9999%, right? They're not going to let us default. So I think that it was already priced in going into the weekend, so I wouldn't expect that new news to push the markets up. I also don't really think that it's buy the rumor, sell the news. I would just remain pretty neutral on that for the debt ceiling. It was already priced in, most likely, because the odds of it were so high. Now, if we didn't get the debt deal, then that would have been very catastrophic to the market. That would have been the shock to the market. But the markets kind of already knew that it was going to get passed, because that's what the politicians do basically every single year. They push it off to the last minute and then try to make themselves look like heroes at the end of the day. Very interesting dynamic we have with our government. It'll be different this time. Yep. Yeah, so more back and forth for Qs. Ended up catching some supports at 355, back above 355.40 again. So I would just expect a lot of chop. Tesla is pulling back a little bit here though, so that's partly good for the bears if that ends up continuing. Apple still trading close to the high, so you can't really count that one out. Google's actually pulling back a little bit, still well above 70 or 60 RSI, so still very bullish. And those are the three names that you need to send down in order to get Qs to break the bottom end of your range at 355. So keep an eye on those three names: Tesla, Apple, Google. Those are the leaders today. Thinking about taking profits on my SOX S shares. Nvidia's got that support right at 390, and AMD's actually improving a little bit here too. 119.13. A lot of volume going into that candle. Very big green candle. But SOX S trading pretty close to its highs for this morning. We had a gap up in SOX S at 10 o'clock. That's crazy. On the 5-minute chart. I still think that Nvidia still has a little bit more room to pull back. It's at 389 right now. My guess it'll probably be like 385 in the next couple of days. So that would be another, like 1% down for Nvidia. I'm not sure how much that would drag SOX. But I bought these shares on Friday, 300 shares of it at 11.91, so kind of close to the tops in the afternoon on Friday. And that one's been headed up so far this morning. Is there a place I look at for the odds of these kind of things? Yeah, so the odds for like 25 basis points, you can go to this. This is the Fed watch tool where it shows you Fed futures. So basically this is people betting on whether the Fed is going to raise rates or pause, whatever. And I think they've followed the Fed futures every single time for like the past 60 years. So if the markets are telling them to pause, then the Fed is going to pause. If the markets are telling them to continue to raise, then the Fed is going to raise. Yeah, it looks like QQQ is just back and forth, not going up, not going down. Trading at 60 RSI, so it's a little bit more bullish than it is neutral, but it's been between 55 RSI and 65 RSI since that initial drop. So Just going back and forth here. Apple's up by 1.5%, so this one's retesting the highs almost. Google's actually seeing a decent pullback, but still needs to go down more to bring Q's down. No problem, William. So IWM is right at that 179 mark after dipping below it. The Dow is slightly recovered, finding its lows at 337. SPY is trading at 428 with the morning highs at almost 430. That's crazy. 429.67. Excuse me. I'm just waiting to see if QQQ will go below 50 on the RSI. If it'll flip bearish or not. So far, again, it's just been neutral, roughly 60 RSI this morning. Yeah, that initial pop, initial drop. And just kind of decreasing the size of the candles one by one, it seems like. Right now, we're just caught ranging 355.25-ish to 355.75, 50-cent range. The VIX is at 1520 now. So yeah, I think VIX probably 1530, 1550 by the end of the day would be my expectations on it. But if you really want the VIX to get rallied up, see something like 16 plus, you would need Qs to drop, which means that Tesla, Apple, and Google would have to pull back, all three of those names. And Apple seems like it wants to head higher. Tesla and Google, not so much. Yeah, QQQ is just finding itself right at 60 on the RSI. Stalling there. That could mean that we're losing momentum in the Qs to go up. But my guess is probably just going to be flat since the Dow is down today. Likely just money transferring from industrial staples, energy, utilities, airlines, things like that, and into now Apple, which was the opposite of what we saw on Friday. Hopefully the longs get bored here. Yeah. Yeah, SPY puts are very, even with, the VIX being so low, puts are still very expensive just because SPY is trading at $430 almost. Like if you want to get decent time on your puts, like a month or two even, you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars for them. Let's see if we go with something like, I don't know, July monthly expiration. Even if we go, say, at the money, we're paying $730 right now. So it's a little expensive. It's not as expensive as I thought it would be. I thought it would be $1,000 plus. And that's July expiration, so you have 46 days to expiration there. I personally would probably go with VIX calls rather than SPY puts. I think there's probably a bigger move you could expect for VIX than for SPY. In terms of percentages, at least. And the VIX calls will be a lot cheaper, too. I accidentally got rid of the Dixie again. The Dixie's actually recovering at 104 again. Not really recovering, but at least getting a little bit of support. And Qs, man. Flat, flat, flat. And they try to send it down, but it keeps getting supported at like 355.20. Or a little bit higher. Now Apple is in the lead. Tesla lost its lead. Retesting the highs of the range, 355.70. So yeah, this is just very choppy. Very choppy and boring. 60 RSI still. How do you find the VIX on Robinhood? There is no VIX on Robinhood, unfortunately. The only VIX products they have are leveraged, like UVIXI, VIXX, I think. No, what is it? VXX? Or, let's see, what other VIX products do they have? I forget. VXY. And then you have short VIXI too, SVXY. So those are basically the only things that you can trade with related to the VIX on Robinhood. But if you want the actual VIX index, you can't find that with Robinhood. You have to go to another platform. Like Thinkorswim has it. You could do it on probably TradingView or whatever. TradeView probably has it. Oh, this is the most boring market for QQQ. But seems like it wants to go higher, with Tesla up 2% now, Nvidia up a little bit more, from 389 at the lows to 390 now, and Apple still hanging on those highs. Google recovering a tad, so looks like there's more bullishness to QQQ at the moment than there is bears. So my guess would crack the range to the upside. Looks like there it is. Yep. And rejected a 355.83. Oh man, what a dreadful market. Dreadfully slow. Excuse me. The 356 calls for this Friday are going for 300 right now. We just keep getting rejected at Friday's highs at 355.83. The Dow still hasn't improved, still down by 0.3%, and IWM is still down 1.7%. And Q's is really the only thing in the green right now, 0.4% almost. What's going on with IWM? So IWM ended up going a ton on Friday to 182, but it ended up pulling back this morning back into the 179 and below range, between 172 and 179. So I would probably expect IWM to probably trade around that 179 mark. I'm not sure if we would have a big recovery like we saw Friday. Probably just going to trade flat. My guess probably between like 178 and about 180, maybe 181 at the top. But yeah, after breaking that 179 mark, I would have thought that it would have held. Now, if it ends up gaining support today at 179, then that would be bullish. But it's broken below it slightly this morning so far. So we'll have to see if it ends up retesting 179 and headed higher, or if it ends up coming back into the range and just trading flat like it has been for months. Yep. Tug of war between QQQ and DIA, as usual. So, SPY is probably going to be the flat one today, will be my guess. Unless you see the Dow going higher. Well, I should say, unless you see the Dow going higher or QQQ going lower, then you're going to be flat for SPY today. The break-even's too high on VIX calls. Well, you don't have to hold it to the break-even and the expiration date. You can always close out beforehand. But yeah, I get it. Like, everybody's probably buying into VIX calls just because of how cheap it is, so it's probably jacking up the premiums to some degree, I would assume. Let's see. If we trade VIX calls, let's say July 19th at the money, 15 strike. Yeah, you're paying $3.90 on those. Geez, that means that your break even's like $19. What is your delta for these, I wonder? It's probably around 50 given that it's at the money. So you're paying 400 for 50 delta. So if the VIX does end up going up by $1, then you make 50 for let's see, 50 over 400, 12% return. So the returns really aren't that great just because they are pretty expensive. Man, well, it looks like QQQ wanted to go higher but got rejected. And that would be a double top if that continues. If it continues to hold below those levels, but I don't know. Still seems like it wants to be bullish. To me, it seems like you have a push and pull between names like Tesla that's up 2% and Nvidia, the big one that's been screaming up, is down 1%. But every other name is in the green today. So you would expect that to have a little bit more weight than Nvidia being down 1%, and you would expect Qs to be more green than it is now. But not the case yet. Dow is still bearish at 38 8 for RSI. So yeah, bears are going to eat on IWM and DIA today, I think. Bulls are probably going to eat on QQQ. And SPY is just going to be the flat one. Just because you have the back and forth of Dow versus Qs. Let's see. All right, finally breaking the double top at 356.20 maybe. So yeah, Q seems the only one that had higher or flat. So put credit spreads would probably be your best bet here for today. Dow is still very bearish, so I'd probably buy puts there, and then SPY has a little bit more upside with the Qs going up as much as it is right now. Probably the best positioning would be maybe calls for QQQ, puts for DIA, and then put credit spreads maybe for SPY. Here we go at the high again. And really all of it seems like it's going into Apple, up 1.8%. Crazy rally for Apple this morning. And Apple's been one of the names that's been kind of held back over the last couple of weeks and really hasn't started rallying. I would say until the last few days, it's just been a ramp. They weren't really part of the whole AI mania rally that you saw for Nvidia, Microsoft, Google. But they've recently kind of joined into that. The last couple of days has been really good for it. Now the VIX is getting crushed too, because QQQ is headed higher, which means that SPY is flat. And whenever SPY is flat, it's going to send VIX down even more. So it's at 1502 at the moment. The lows from Friday was 1442. So we'll see how that shakes out today. I think if Q's keeps going higher, VIX is going to head lower. And looks like Q's just wants to keep on pumping. So short term, I would be bearish for Q's. Or short term, I would be bearish for VIX. But I think probably mid long term, I'd be more bullish for VIX. Gonna wait to see if SPY goes above 429 to buy VIX calls. I don't know. Let's see. It's at 425.60, so it's not too far off of the number you're wanting. But I think you would probably need to see an improvement for the Dow, DIA, in order to get bullish on SPY. Disney, that's a name I haven't checked on in a while. At 90.5. Last couple of days, the Dow has been doing pretty good, so that's been partly leading DIS to go up. But if you're seeing DIA pulling back, that might have a little bit of negative sentiment for Disney. It's at 90.5 right now, so if you see continued sell-off for DIA here, I would expect DIS to probably be below 90, but we'll see what tomorrow has for that. But yeah, I think that's all the trades I got today. I sold out of half of my QQQ puts. Gonna hold some of them just to see if we retest the bottom of our range from this morning, but it does look a little bit more bullish for Qs. Currently at 356.30, almost at the highs at 356.60. So my expectations probably headed higher, or just kind of trading flat today. Probably gonna stay above 355.40 would be my guess. So I'll create an alert if it goes below that, just in case. And that'll be it for me. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you, William. See y'all.